In this video, we're going to be talking about sending the brand carry all to your clients. You're finally all done and you're getting it ready to actually be sent. Oh my goodness, so exciting. So why are we even talking about this? Can't you just hit send? Well, you're taught so much about how to make pretty logos and how to build amazing strategy now, but how do we even talk about that? We're not quite sure how to give it the best chance possible. I mean, you could have the best logo and the best strategy in the world, but if you can't tell anybody about it or show anybody, I mean, what's the point? It's not going to have any impact on the world if you can't get it approved by your client. I know that anxiety feeling when you hit send and you're like, for days and days, you're nervous to check your inbox to see what their response is. So I want to take all that anxiety away from you when you hit send so that you know for a matter of fact what they're going to say when they come back. So we first really need to understand where the client is coming from. I think this is a mistake that a lot of designers make, is we don't understand from business owner to business owner that we are working with another business owner. And business owners are usually successful in part because of their ability to take control. I mean, if you think about all the different hats that a business owner has to wear, I mean, they've got to control the finances, they've got to control social media and marketing, and all of the so many things. There's lots of moving pieces they've got to take control of. And they've never been through this process before, and so naturally, they're going to really want to take control. When I was telling my mom this, so she has 3 masters in childhood education and like behavior management and all that stuff with kids. And she was kind of like, oh my gosh, like that's exactly how little kids are. Like you have to show them that you are the one in control and you have to give them a process, because if you don't give little kids a process, especially when they're super young, like 5 and under, if you don't give them a process, if you don't give them a structure and a schedule, little kids aren't going to feel safe in the environment they're in, and that's why they act out. And business owners are kind of like that same way too, in the most respectful way possible. But they're in a new environment. They've never been in this brand strategy process. And so we have got to show that we're the expert and we're in control, or else they're just going to naturally want to take over control. And it's not their fault. They just need some structure to follow. So there are 3 things that I send with the strategy that really set me up for success. 1 is a Google form, 2nd is a PDF version of the strategy, and 3rd is an overview video of the strategy. So go to the template library for all of these templates plus an email template that I'm going to attach to be able to send this with you. But let's get started with the Google form. So what is the Google form even for? I use the Google form to capture feedback. I don't ever have my clients just respond to the email and say, let me know what you think. I want to ask very specific questions, and especially with a strategy, because it's sometimes like a 20-40 page plus document, I need to ask very specific questions about each and every page. And so this is the easiest and most streamlined way to capture feedback. There's going to be no more feedback that you get that's just completely unhelpful. And another reason why I really like this is I also kind of like to use the Google form as like a liability thing. Like I don't ever want my clients to have to go back and be like, oh, well, I didn't ever actually approve that. If they have to write out, yes, I approve, then like we both understand, they understand we're moving on. This page is approved. No turning back kind of a thing. So how to use the Google form template. First thing that you're going to do, and I know this sounds a little ridiculous, but you're going to tell them how they should submit the feedback. I mean, again, they're likely unsure of how much to tell you and exactly what to tell you. So before I even start, I'm just like, here are the things that we need to talk about. Here's how you provide feedback if you're struggling with this, word it in this way, because they've never been in this process. They don't know. And it's in the template there of what I like to ask. Usually I just remind them to not diagnose the problems that they're seeing with solutions. Just talk about the problems, and then we'll talk about solutions together. That's kind of like what that whole expert is about. But you can add things as you want as well. So now that you've got that all taken care of, what you're going to do is you're going to upload each page individually as a PNG or JPEG. And at the bottom of each page of the strategy, you're going to ask the question, is this page of the brand strategy approved by you, or does it still need to be improved? Explain if the latter, write approved if not. And I ask this question because, again, I kind of want liability and making sure that every single page is approved. And I want them to go through every single page. I don't want them to miss anything, and so that later on it becomes a surprise of like, well, I didn't know we were going to be doing this or that. So I want them to check off every single page and understand the strategy fully in depth. So you're going to ask that question for every single page except for the pieces of strategy that have different options for them to choose from, like mood boards, logo boards, and mission statements, those kinds of things. And then after each section, so like after the audience section or the solution section, like those bigger ones, I ask a few overall clarifying questions. And these questions really help me understand like where their head's at, instead of them just being like approved, 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 or like no, no, or whatever. It's helping me see like what's going on in their mind, how they're really perceiving it. So I ask the question like, what parts of the blank section were you most excited about? And this helps me capitalize on that later on, the parts that they really, really loved. Then I ask, is there something that feels off to you about the blank section that you would like to improve upon? Now, I know I ask the question like, is there a specific page that like needs to be improved upon? But sometimes people are like, well, the overall like feeling maybe needs to go this or that or whatever. And if they feel like overall there's just something missing, but they're not quite sure what it is, that's what that question at the end is for. Okay, now let's talk about the PDF version of the strategy that I attach in the email. This is really simple, but the reason why you need to attach this is because sometimes with the Google form, legibility can be a little bit hard, especially with things like a sitemap or things that are really, really detailed or have lots of fine print, those graphs and things like that. And so I attach a PDF form just in case for them to be able to read something clear if they need. Okay, now let's move on to the overview video. So why not call it good after all of that? Like, I know even just like going beyond with the Google form is really different than what a lot of people do, and probably more than what most people do, but there's 3 of the reasons why I do the video. The first one is personalization. Now, this is awesome because when you are scaling up and you're going to scale up and you have a project manager that's working with you, my project manager is the one that's most of the time in contact with my clients. And so when she's sending brand strategy documents or whatever, and I send that video with them, it helps add a little level of personalization. Like, yes, I'm still here. Carly's still the one that's in charge and working on this, and she's involved. But even if it's just you, it really helps your clients feel like you are still personally really involved and you care. Now, the second reason is explanation. There's just some things that I can't explain in the questionnaire, or I just can't explain in the PDF, or I just can't explain in the brand strategy, and I just need to like talk it out with them. I'm like, here's kind of what I was thinking. We could go this direction or this direction. And I just talk everything through of like what's going on in my head, like I would if it were a friend or my husband that I was talking it through, so that they can kind of see what's going on in my head. Now, the third reason is involvement. This helps your client feel like they are a huge part of the strategy, and it feels a lot more like a conversation and a collaboration than you just like giving it to them and like shoving it up their noses. It feels a lot more conversational and like non-confrontational when you attach that video. So let's get techie into how I actually do this. I use Loom. It's a free tool that I use, and the reason why I really like it is it records videos right from my computer. It records my screen or just the voice and all that. But the really, really awesome part about it is I don't have to like upload anything. It just sends it as a link. And so my clients don't have to download it either. They just have to click on the link in the email, sends them to a separate URL, and then they have the video right there. So no downloading, no uploading. I feel like if you had to download or upload anything as a client, they wouldn't ever actually watch it. So the link is like really critical here. So how to start the video. You're first going to start the video and you're just going to tell like why you're making this video and tell them what to pay attention to. So why you're making this video, you're like, well, I'm making this video because I wanted I have a template that you're going to use, and I'll show you an example. But you also want to tell them what to pay attention to before they open up any of the strategy. So what are some things that you notice some of your clients always get hung up on, or you notice that your clients are always struggling with? And you really want to address those things before it's even a possibility. For example, here's what I say, and you also have this template. I say something like, I'm so excited to see what we've been working on. I'm creating this video for you so you can better understand your brand strategy and make a better decision for your brand strategy or whatever it is we're working on. We made every design decision with a purpose behind it, to help better solve problem, to help better get you goals or whatever. It's important to us that not only we create a beautiful brand, but we help your business move forward. When looking over your brand strategy for the first time, it's really easy to see it objectively only. As we're showing you everything, I want you to pay attention to how it makes you feel and how it solves the problem so that you can try and see it from your ideal audience's eyes. So for me, I notice that a lot of the times my clients, they need a little mindset reset, a mindset reset. They just need to clear their mindset. So now you're going to start presenting your designs page by page and just explaining the reasoning behind what you did. Like I said, just to make this really conversational. Now, here's how to totally nail your presentation when you're talking about the brand strategy. Tip number 1 is to speak simply. Now, remember who you're speaking to. You want to speak as simply as possible. I know sometimes we want to sound like we're super smart and nerdy, like we know what we're talking about and we're super qualified to do this. But honestly, it's way more powerful when you can speak in super simple terms that a 12-year-old or your mom is going to be able to understand, because it's going to just clear things up for them so much. They're like, yes, I understand. This is making sense. I can see exactly why everything you're doing. So don't use crazy big words, or sometimes as designers we want to be sans serif and use all these designy words, but try and stay away from that if possible. And if you have to use those words, explain it again really, really simply. Tip 2 is to link everything back that you talk about to the overall problem that you're trying to solve. Remember, your client came to you with a specific problem. They're wanting more sales, they're wanting more conversions, they're wanting a different audience, they want a different clientele, whatever it is that their overall problem is. The whole reason that they came to you, you want to keep talking about that and addressing that and be see, this is how we're doing it. This is how we're doing it. Da, 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 da. Tip 3 is to make it professional, but honestly, I feel this video is more than anything to make it more conversational, because you've got the form, you've got it presented in a really professional way. But again, we want them to feel they're a part of this and it's a collaborative process. So if you can make the video feel a lot more conversational, you're going to win them on that side. So tip 4 is to involve the client into the pitch by asking questions. Now, I know when you're asking questions, if I ask them questions about what do you think? Or let me know about this, then they're just going to take control and who knows what they're going to say. So here's my tip for asking questions. You're not going to ask open-ended questions of let me know what you think, what's your opinion, all those types of things. You want to ask them very specific questions that, one, jog their memory. Hey, remember when we talked about this, or blah, 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 or I loved how we talked about this during the strategy, or da, 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 those kinds of things that jog their memory. Questions that are optional now, again, hey, do you want to do this, or do you want to do that? Again, this is kind of going back to little kids things when you want them to feel they're in control, but you would need them to do something, you give them options. And so it's hey, we could go with this or we could go with that. Something that you're I don't really care about whether they choose A or B. I just need them to choose one of these two. And the last thing is you want to ask some questions that are based upon strategy and research. And what I mean about this is if you're can you see how this relates to your audience? Do you feel this solves your audience's problems? Those kinds of questions are really, really going to be helpful, not only because it's going to help involve them, but they're going to see that connection yeah, I can see that. So tip 5 is to explain yourself in stories. Now, I know this is kind of a weird one, but if you can, or if you do have any type of story or any type of case study, I like to use a lot. I have a lot of examples that I have from when Coca-Cola was doing this, or one time, back in the 90s, this happened, and this is kind of why I'm trying to avoid this or that. Anytime you can use real life concrete examples, your clients are able to see it a lot better. It just makes more sense psychologically to explain yourself in stories. So start, if you're I don't have any stories, start listening to branding podcasts or reading those books, and I have now just a folder of stories that I just and case studies that I just review every once in a while to use as examples.